Hello, my name is Darren Coughlin, and tonight I'm going to show how to get a very simple testing suite set up for a Rails application. This is not going to be your usual testing suite using RSpec or test unit or Cucumber, that sort of thing. This is going to be more of a testing suite that I think people coming from other languages who are used to unit testing, that sort of thing, um, it's going to be more for them and how to get a really simple um, testing suite that's like using Ruby as much as possible. Um, no insider knowledge, just basic objects in Ruby to test. So the first thing I'll do is, of course, make a Rails application, just create one. Um, the simplest idea I could think of was a website that lets people comment on the weather. So let's go ahead and start. I'm going to type Rails new weather commenter. And I usually hate commenting on weather, so of course I should be an expert on building a website on it. So we'll let this run for a second. Okay. I have my new Rails application. It's what you've probably seen before. But this is where I'm probably going to become a little, or offer some advice that's a little sacrilegious, because the first thing I'm going to suggest is to delete the test directory. I mean, this is not the usual way of testing Rails, but I think it's simpler because I'll be honest, 2 years into Rails and I still don't understand exactly what all of these things break down into. So I'm going to delete the test folder. I'm going to make a new one. I'm going to call it spec. So this is where I'll start loading in all of the tests that we end up writing. So the first thing I'll start with is a weather controller, and I think that's as far as we'll go tonight. So in a Rails application, there's the app folder, and then you have the different types of objects in your class or in your project broken out here. So we would normally put the weather controller in controllers. So now you don't have to do it this way. This is my suggestion: is to try to maintain that structure. So in my spec folder, I made an app folder. And in here, I'm going to make a controllers folder. And since I'm making a weather controller, I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to call it weather controller spec. And to write a test, what do you need to do? Well, since I'm going to use mini tests. I mean, it comes with Ruby 1.9, no additional RSpec or any plugins. Again, we're going to try to make this as simple as possible. I'm going to use these spec assertions because they read a little better and they let you break things up, which we'll get into in further screencasts. So let's go and describe our weather controller. And actually, let's just try running it right now. Since we're using basic Ruby, I can actually call our test with Ruby like this. And it's going to fail because there is no weather controller. So let's try to make that test pass. So make a weather controller. I'll go ahead and declare it here. And I'll run it. And it's going to fail. And it failed. See, the same thing. Now, the thing is, we wrote the test, but we haven't brought Rails into the test yet. So, and I wish they would explain this earlier on, but all you need to do to make that happen is to include this environment.rb file. So in my test here, I'm going to include environment, and I'll make this reference from the test file that I'm putting it in, and run this. Oh, sorry. Need that config. Okay. Now I've never actually put a test in here, but so we see 0 tests, but you can see it actually saw the file, it saw the constant, it all worked. And you'll also notice that it took longer to run because since I brought Rails in, my tests start running slower, which we'll get into later. But for now, let's just try to get some tests running. So now we won't keep this, but I just want to show that it works. So I'm going to say it should say hello. Other controller new dot say hello must equal hello. Undefined method. See, and you can see we're getting into test-driven development here, which is a big goal, I think, in testing in this way. We don't test through reviews. We don't test, at least we try to avoid the database as much as possible. We just want to stick with basic unit testing. So now you can see this is I'm about to make this pass. Okay, so we actually have a running test suite for our Rails application, and the next screencast will take it one step further.